Hola, saludos. Okay. My husband fixed my setup, and this board is now, I think, too big. Um, it's like hitting me in the stomach, but okay, we'll do what we have to do. He's trying really hard. He's being very considerate. So while he's out of the house, I'll tell you, I liked it better before. But okay. All right. So number 13 is what I assigned. So hopefully, again, it's getting fast. I'm going to walk you through, which could be super irritating if you're getting good at this. I can't decide how fast to go. I think I'll go a little faster than before. So find me some adjectives and circle. All right. I don't see any, do you? We're not describing the storm here. We're not, you know. So, all right, let's find us some nouns. Box them in. I think I see four. I'm going to start. Pause if you're not ready. Okay. Actually, I'm going to take my sweater off so I don't get ink on my sleeve. All right. So I've got a noun with Jake. I've got a noun with Marissa. I've got a picnic. And I've got a storm. Take a second and think about which ones are proper nouns, which means specific names of specific people, places, and things. Yep, Jake and Marissa. And proper nouns are capitalized. Jake is capitalized for two reasons. It's the first word in the sentence, but it's also a name. If Jake were in the middle of the sentence, it would also be. And Marissa's clearly capitalized. Picnic is not, and storm. Ask yourself, are any of these pronouns? Pronouns take the place of a noun. Words like it, him, her. Right, I don't see any. So these to me are proper noun, regular noun, regular noun. Find me some verbs, kiddos. All right, I've got two. All right, I'm going to start small. I'm going to say go is a verb. And was. Okay, some of you might be going, but, hold that thought. Just hold that thought. All right. Who is the boss of the verb go? Whoever's the boss is going to be the subject. Has to be a noun. It is Jake and Marissa. So I'm going to kind of try to draw the crown like that, and then I think I tend to do boom. All right. And who's the boss of was? It kind of isn't, right? I mean, I guess if you Yoda talk like Yoda, storm there was a storm there was. So yeah, kinda. So here's the deal. Let's talk about. Here's what. Can you put a little bracket around those two words? Here's what my brain sees the minute I look at that sentence that I don't think the typical Spanish student does until, upper levels or college. It's not that they don't know it, they've been taught it. It just, they don't get it. There was and there were is like a verb, but a weird verb. It's like, I don't know. I'm sure if I were more scholarly, I'd know exactly what makes it it. I know that Italian has equivalents. I know French. So this is I. And I is technically a verb, but it doesn't have a yo form, a to form, an L form. It's just I, whether it's there was or there were. There was a storm, there were showers, there were lightning bolts, there was thunder. It doesn't matter. It's just I. It's as if a verb only has one form, which would be heaven, right? Actually, it's not there was. In this case, since it's the past tense, this I means there is or there are. My apologies. So I have two choices for there was or there were. I have hubo, which is the preterite, and I have había, which is the imperfect. They both mean there was or there were. How do I know which one? If the action is kind of sudden, like a lightning bolt, no pun intended, it just happens to be my metaphor, like there was something sudden. Había has the idea of like, it's kind of an ongoing action. I apologize for using the same. This should be pointier because it's a crown. like it's not something sudden like, oh, growing up there were trees all over my property. It's not like there were trees like appearing, boo, boo, boo. It's just you're describing la la la. There were a lot of people at the park. It's not that they suddenly appeared. You're just describing the people at the park. This would be like there was an accident. There was a robbery. There was, these are all like boom. These, you're not dragging it out and describing. So there was a storm. I think you could kind of use either. It depends what you're trying to imply. Like I think it's more. I would probably say ubo, because storm to me feels more sudden and concrete and abrupt. So I would go with ubo. So so I would underline both of this because in my Spanish brain, that's a verb. That's a unit, and it's done with one word, and that word counts as a verb. And again, I is what you're really familiar with, but that's the present, and these two are both past tenses. By the way, the subjunctive, if you were going to say like, I hope there is a storm, you would use, that's where your aya. If this were verb to in a subjunctive sentence, that's why you do the aya of the aya of aya. Because ubo, and había all are weird forms of the verb haber. Like that's the mama. And these are the babies. These are like weird babies that don't follow the same, like, whatever. I don't know. I'm not doing a good job. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, my brain, when I see there was or there were or there is or there are, I immediately notice that it's I. It's a form of I, whether it's present or past or future, conditional, subjunctive, blah, blah. Kids don't. So what kids will do is they'll look up the word there and put like IE and then like fue. That was awful. That was like so bad. That's so bad. Blah. So don't do that. Okay. So that's a verb. So there's really, I don't think there's a boss of that. Maybe a storm. You could kind of, I don't know if I like a really super smart PhD in, so I'm like, gonna put like a little crown. I don't know if that counts. I don't know. See, I can do this for 30 years and still have questions. Okay. So the picnic's not doing anything. See how it's like the boss of anybody? It's just hanging out there. It's not like the picnic was wonderful. The picnic had this food. This is sitting there doing its business. Okay. So I still have a conjugated verb and a conjugated verb. And I know you're going to say it's not conjugated. It is conjugated. It's just a verb that happens to only have one form. So that means what? What has to go in between two conjugated verbs in the same sentence? Let's hear it. Conjunction, junction. Right. So you've got choices of the word on, and because. Which one is our conjunction? Yep. It's because. Boom. It's a because. But so, you could say Jake and Marissa didn't go on a picnic. There was a storm. So you use the because, but, so's and other conjunctions to combine two sentences to make them also more complex. This is the reason for this happening. So that's richer than Jake and Marissa didn't go on a picnic. Jake and Marissa didn't see ants. I don't know. Having the because shows a relationship. It's not just listing. It's not like the lamest conjunction is and, snoozer. Okay, so it tells you nothing other than adds a new element. Okay, so what's left? So I want to go back here. So here's what my brain sees this like that. And the verb is actually did go. If you remember when Senora Cara was here and she made you do the verb chart. If you remember, there was the present tense in Spanish. There were 3 lines in English. So if you wrote like voy, it means I go, I did go, I am going. All 3. It's a 3 for 1. It's a bargain. Es una ganga. That's how I say bargain. Es una ganga. Voy. So, if I wanted to say Jake and Marissa, I guess it would be van. And this would be they. They did go. They are going. I guess if I want to be consistent. So that takes care of the did and the go. So then I have to ask myself, well, what is, so my verb is actually it's a 2-word verb, did go. The nt is just, it's no. And the no is going to go in front of your verb. So ellos no van means, they don't go. They, did not go. They are not going, is how you would do all of that in English, the comparison. So I think this counts as an adverb. I don't really understand why. Truthfully, again, I'm showing you all my weaknesses. Okay, on a picnic. So a picnic, that would be un picnic. It's called an indefinite article. I haven't been addressing them, but that's what they are. It'd be un or una, agreement. And then like on. In English, on is a preposition. But in Spanish, here's what I know that you don't know. Whenever they like to go, how do I say this? To go plus an activity has a structure in Spanish. And you've learned a bunch of it. It's ir de. Ir de compras is how to say to go shopping. Ir de picnic is to go for a picnic. Ir de pesca is to go fishing. Ir de, what were the ones we did? I feel like the Costa Rica unit, I feel like we did a couple too. Ir de, I can't remember. But ir de is just, it's not, don't get it confused with ir plus a plus infinitive. This tells what you're going to do. Okay. So this is voy a ir de picnic. I'm going to go on a picnic. So, this is what we would do here. So the day on means, we tell you that on means is like N. Well, we lie. Like, it does sometimes, but prepositions are evil for translating. I didn't really learn that till Italian, but anyway. So yeah, sometimes it does, but not here. And so that's why, like, I've got so many colors. And so that's why, like, my brain learns also to go on a picnic. See, when I give you vocab, this is why I give you things like ir de picnic. So I want your brain to go, that's a unit, and then I want you to know that that's a unit. So we're kind of combining this part of the verb chart plus that. And that, like my brain can do that. I'm overwhelming most of you, I'm sure. And that's okay. So if you've gotten the parts, if you've gotten the conjunction, if you got that at least that was a verb and that was a verb, if you got that these were nouns and there's no adjectives. Oh, this is also conjunction, by the way. Boom. That's the lame one. It's and. I'm happy. Happy. I'm just kind of talking about the other stuff. This is also an indefinite article. Who cares? Whatever. So there's your structure for sentence 13. All right, so let's take a look at the top. Oh, nice short sentence, huh? Happier. All right, find me some adjectives. Okay, so circle them, right? So I've got delicious and I got cheap. All right, find me, what do we do now? Nouns, box them. Yeah, I've only got one, right? Not many words here. So, and I mean, seriously, if there is only one noun, find me verbs. Again, your choices are the, are, and but. Boom, there's one verb. Okay, this is where I was going. Well, who's the boss of the verb? There's only one noun. Nouns are the bosses of verbs. So that means tapas there's better crown, is the boss, is the subject of the sentence. So they, are has to like conjugate to agree. Tapas is the boss. It's also, who's the boss of the adjectives? Tapas. If there's only one noun, it's the boss of everything. So it's that. So now I know that whatever word for cheap, it has to agree. So it has to be feminine, singular. And this has to be feminine, singular. Okay? So I only have one verb, which means I don't have to have a conjunction. So I'm left, the is called a definite article. I don't care if you know that. See the difference? Indefinite means a storm versus the storm. The refers to something in particular. A tapa is like any old tapa. The tapas, it's more specific. A picnic. I enjoyed the picnic. I enjoyed a picnic. So one's definite, one's indefinite. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Learn it, don't learn it. So then my question is, what's the but? This is another conjunction. Because although we've been focusing on conjunctions, allowing you to conjugate again, they can also go hooking up words and phrases and clauses. The difference is a clause has a verb. So they can sometimes be used. Is this better than and? Yes, it is. This, by my choice of saying but as opposed to and here, tells you that I think you might think because they're cheap, they're not delicious. But what I'm saying to you is tapas are like not only cheap, but meaning you're not sacrificing taste because you're not spending a lot of money. Cheap and delicious, I've just told you two random things. By me going with the word but as opposed to and, it tells you that I don't want you, that I consider cheap could make you believe that they're bad or that they're not particularly good. So that's why I chose that. All right, this one's super easy. Is there anything else? So actually, let's try to translate this. You know? All right, so here's what my brain does. Tapas are just tapas. And I want to say the. The is el, la, los, or las. Which one do I use? Las. Las tapas. Then my brain goes, R is either ser or a star. And I think back to my top 20, top 40, top 60 most common verbs. And I say, one is for traits and characteristics. And one is for a status update. Like, how you doing? Okay. So when I say that tapas are cheap and delicious, am I giving you characteristics or traits of what tapas are? In a way, am I defining tapas? Or am I saying, wow, right now, these tapas are cheap but delicious? By the way, depending on the context, neither's wrong, but from this sentence, I would go with ser. There's no reason to think I'm pointing at any particular tapas. I'm just saying the tapas are cheap but delicious. Actually, in English, I think I would, yeah. This would be if I'm pointing at a particular one, then going, oh, try these. They're cheap but delicious. These if I'm talking about tapas in general. So both are okay. It just depends what you want to say. All right, so I'm going to go with son, say that these are inherent characteristics of tapas. And they really are. They're pretty cheap and they're pretty delicious. So I'm going to say, so my brain goes present tense. So I just want son. It's the boss. I need the ellos, or ellas in this case, ellas form. Son, and then my brain goes, cheap is barato. And then I go, whoops, I'm the boss. So I go, tapas is also the boss of cheap. So I go, as, pero, and then I go, oh, delicious. I don't want you using delicioso. I didn't put on your vocab word for a list for a reason. I want you to use either rico, apetitoso, or sabroso. So I've got rico. And then I go, nope, it's the boss of this too. Look at this tapas, man. So I change to ricas. Las tapas son baratas, pero ricas. If I change and say, las tapas están, it's more like I've got some in front of me. I'm trying them and telling you about them, giving you more of a review. That these right now, so if I told, so that's the difference. And they're both, notice they both have to be, plural. And notice verbs don't have gender. There's no like feminine ser. So anyway, okay. So it is what it is. Hopefully, as you create sentences, as you read, this is my wax on, wax off. I'm hoping that these things that seem really random end up really giving you these foundational, it's like knowing the steps of a dance. It's knowing the scales. It's knowing the fingering on an instrument. It's knowing, how to run a certain play. In itself, it feels like, oh, it's kind of a drag, but that it pays off later with more automaticity. That all of a sudden things come to you faster, and you can really spend your energy on creating language and communicating as opposed to the bits and pieces. But to ignore the bits and pieces will kind of act like an anchor to you and limit you from making a lot of progress. All right, I talk a lot. I miss you guys. Love my family, but miss you guys. All right, hasta luego.